The views expressed on About Oneness and its guests are not necessarily the views of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Hi, this is Karen Neumann, and this is the show About Oneness. We are going to begin the show in just a little bit of a different way today. Yesterday, Christel and I had the great pleasure of visiting Mother Amma, that is Sri Mata Aritamaya Deva Devi. She is known as the Hugging Saint from India. And we were able to take part in the pujas and the bhajans yesterday and to get our hugs with her. So today is going to be all about discussing Siva, and which is selfless service, as well as different principles of Hinduism and spirituality. I'd like to begin with just a short meditation to center ourselves, opening our hearts, sitting up straight in your chair, closing your eyes. We will start with 3 perfect ohms, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. One continuous wave of breath. Breathing in. So we're going to begin with the bhajan called Everyone in the World, and it was written by Amma, and it's also my prayer as well. So I'm sharing in the great gift of Amma to the world. It's Amma's beautiful vision for the world that everyone for at least one day will know peace, will have eaten, and will experience joy and love in their lives. This is her dream, and this is her prayer. It is sung, it's a sung form of prayer called a bhajan. Just please join with me in this prayer. Everyone in the world should sleep without fear, at least for one night. Sleep without fear. Everyone in the world should eat to their fill, at least for one day. Eat to their fill. There should be one day when there is no violence, no one is injured, no one is harmed. All people, young and old, should serve the poor and needy, at least for one day. Serve selflessly. This is my dream. This is my prayer. Love is the answer. Love is the way. This is my dream. This is my prayer. Love is the answer. Love is the way. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I think this is going to be a little bit of a quiet show, but I think it's lovely to be able to discuss everything that we experienced yesterday and to talk about Amma and to talk about what she's doing and, the experiences that we have. So Amma, as I explained in the intro, is known as Mother Amma or the Hugging Saint.
She's an Indian saint from India, and she has dedicated her life to service and to comforting people. And basically, she travels around the world and hugs people all day long, all night long, and gives them in what is called darshan, which is the interaction between the guru and the devotee. And in the darshan, you receive a hug. And it's like hugging your grandmother, I would think. In my experience, it's like hugging the most lovely grandmother. But I don't know, what was your experience in that?
It's like hugging, you place your head on the right shoulder of her. And it's really like connecting heart to heart as well. So, yeah, in some way, I can share those experiences with hugging your grandmother, but for me it felt like just hugging someone, just connecting with a very lovely being.
Right.
And she's already did it since her younger years. She was starting already with doing stuff since she was 9 years old when her mother became ill, Then she was confronted with all the poverty around in her neighborhood. So she was very young at age, starting to do already stuff about like being in service for other people.
Right. Well, that's her biggest message, is to be in service, just like the bhajan is called Everyone in the World. And the prayer is that everyone in the world will experience basically the rights that everyone should have: to sleep without fear, to eat, to not have violence around them, to have what they need, and that the poor and the needy around us, we serve them selflessly, at least for a little while. And that practice of selfless service is called Siva. And that is a Hindu practice, but it extends across many, many belief systems of serving. I think the reason that I wanted to do this show today is because I've been having a lot of discussions with different people in different ways, but it's also been in my heart to have this discussion. I think there's a big difference between spirituality and the New Age movement. And spirituality in and of itself, I think, has been lost a little bit in the New Age movement. The New Age movement has become about creating the life that you want so that you get the stuff you want. And I think the New Age movement in a lot of ways has become very material. And on the spiritual level, all the material stuff really doesn't matter so much. It's not that you shouldn't have anything material. That's absolutely not what I mean. But I do believe that there is a very important place for worship and for service. And in an Amma's teaching, they go hand in hand. The need for, action and dharma, bhakti and dharma, they go hand in hand. That's action and also worship. And I think that's very, very important. I think it's very important. So yesterday, getting to have our experience, maybe we can talk about, our delight of being there. But, in that experience, it just awakened it even more for me, that I really want to talk a lot about worship, why it's important, and also about service and the action of that, as opposed to only talking about you create your own reality, let's manifest a Maserati.
Yeah, that's really material stuff,
It's really material, yeah.
Being connected to one another, and if someone has nothing, just treat them as well as you also know the feeling of having nothing. So that's also because yesterday they were also talking about how Amma's vision about karma, and she says also like it's okay, it's about the suffering of the individual, is due to his own karma. But she also says like it's not a justification that people are poor or have nothing. So, and I agree when you were saying that in the New Age movement, it's only about create your own happiness and not making connection with people who have nothing. You can create together, It's about oneness. It's about serving
oneness.
yourself and the other, serving the world,
It is about that. I think it's a bigger picture, and not to discount all those things. And I think that everyone comes in at their own space, and sometimes to make people aware. But it isn't about this big party of just getting more, more, more. Mm-hmm. Yeah, living the dream. You're living this dream of having whatever you want, whatever you need. But if you really believe that everyone is you, there's a lot of yous that aren't having what they need.
Yeah.
And I can hear people going, yes, but that's their experience and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, what kind of world do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a world where everyone who is you, other than you, is possibly suffering? I mean, those are the parts of, if you want to look at it from the broader perspective of everyone is you, there's a lot of yous then. Yes, they're having experiences. Yes, those experiences are valid. But there's a lot of people, if they're a reflection of you, that aren't doing so well in this world. And just another experience would be to help them to do better, even if it's just hugging them, even if it's just acknowledging them.
It's all about acknowledgement, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think if you acknowledge everyone as you, if you really look at everyone as you can't turn away from too much suffering. You really can't. You can't ignore it, and you can't pretend it doesn't exist. You might see suffering as negativity, and, thanks to a lot of the New Age teachers, people say, well, I don't want that in my experience, so I don't look at it. Well, I'm here to tell you, you need to start looking at some things.
That's what we're talking about a lot about it, Karen, it's like you don't need to commit yourself with it, but it's also about acknowledgement, just see what's happening. Open your eyes, be aware, be awake.
Be aware, be awake. I was having a discussion last week, and I was talking about being in the U.S., and the one thing that I did notice is that when I left the U.S. and got on the plane and came back to Europe, I did notice that there was less negativity within the media as there is in the U.S. In the U.S., it's constant bombardment of fear, fear, fear. And I'm not saying that it doesn't exist in Europe, but it's not to the degree that it is in the U.S. And in the U.S., it's just everywhere, on every television station, every radio station, every newspaper, all the things. And people say, well, don't pick those things up. Don't look at it. I don't necessarily agree that you shouldn't pick up anything and look at it, because there is stuff that you do need to know, and there is stuff that you should be looking at, and there is things that you may want to get involved with. And pretending something doesn't exist doesn't eliminate it. And it definitely doesn't make it better. May not make it worse, but it definitely doesn't make it better. And what kind of world do you want to live in? I guess that's the bigger question. What kind of world do you want? If your life is perfect and you're creating your reality, and you're creating a reality that has a lot of suffering in it, then you've got a lot of stuff to clean up. And it is your responsibility. It is down to you. It is, because if you've created this reality, you've created a reality with a lot of people that are having a really hard time.
Yes, and maybe you can think about why is this appearing in your reality?
Yes.
So it can be a life lesson or something that you have to do something, respond on it.
Right.
It's just like we all want acknowledgement and love and to be cared for or cared of, so.
Yeah. So in the things that can be done, it can be small, but it does have a ripple effect. It could be just one day a week, one day a month, doing something that's selfless, that doesn't give you a direct, that you don't get a direct benefit from. And it could be as simple as, I don't know, cleaning toilets at your local health center, or volunteering in some way, or giving money, or actually physically getting involved with something.
Well, I agree, but partially I'm disagreeing because you were saying about like do something where you don't have get a benefit of. I went back after we left from Amma. I went back later because I felt the need and the urge to go back there, and I was starting to do seva for a few hours, and the benefit which I was able to receive was just like being there, but also about I was handing out food, and I was standing in the kitchen, and I got real wet, doing the dishes and all the stuff. But the benefit you can receive is about the gratefulness of the other person,
what I meant by getting the benefit is by saying, it's just like somebody was saying, well, I'm not going to do that. What's in it for me? And the thing is just, it's fine to do stuff, but I think you also have to do it without wanting any kind of acknowledgement for it. If you walk around and say to everyone, well, I'm doing seva, I don't think that that's the same as just doing it and doing something selflessly. You don't need to be seen or acknowledged to do it. I think, but it's important. The point is, it's important to do something, to give back in some way.
Yeah, and you start immediately, you can feel the energy flowing, and it's really nice to you are sharing, with a lot of people, and it's also about you are changing your perspective and your focus. You are there in a moment, so.
I think, seva is a Hindi word, but you could just say service. In some way, I think the question that we all should ask ourselves is, how am I serving other people? How am I helping other people? And are you taking the time to do that? And maybe some people are thinking, well, why do I need to do that at all? Well, again, what kind of world do you want to live in? And why wouldn't you want to do something for someone else? I think that's also a principle of just, wanting your world to be better and taking some time away from just the stuff that you want to help other people. It's just an important concept, and it's about selflessness and about understanding the abundance that you have and sharing it.
It is.
It is. So before we get into all that, though, I think I want to talk about, because that's heavy, and it's my opinion, and but I feel quite strongly that someone should be saying it on these kind of television shows, on these kind of radio shows. That we talk a lot about, like I said, creating your own reality and aliens and this and that and the other thing, but we need to remember the oneness, and that's what my show is called, about oneness. So this is the oneness part of the acknowledging of other people, helping them, and also understanding the connectivity. So, but before that, let's talk about our day yesterday. We had a really nice day.
It was really it was awesome. It was a very nice day. Started early, but it was worthwhile. It's really.
So
nice.
just for the audience, so they know, basically, when Amma comes to town in Holland, and she travels all over, if you want to find her, you can just Google Amma. And I think
she's also coming to the States.
She comes to the States, yeah.
Yes, I've written it down. she's coming to the 19th until the 20th of November. She will be in Northern California.
Right.
And then from the 24th until the 28th, she will be in Michigan.
Okay.
And people can see it on www.amma.org.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
We're doing a commercial for Amma.
Yes.
She doesn't know it, but we are.
And www.amritapuri.org. There's everything all about if people want to know about who she is, what she does, and her lovely visions.
Right.
Yeah, I looked it up because it's really, it's nice if she can reach more people, you know. So.
Yes, exactly. So basically, just to give her history, she came from she was born in, I think, 1953. She's from a very poor fishing village. And, you know, India is a huge country, and it has the poorest of the poor and the richest of the rich and everybody in between. The overriding religions in India are Hinduism and Islam, as well as there being Buddhists and Jainists and different things like that, and Christianity as well. But Hinduism is the major religion. And Hinduism is not a religion in the way that Christianity is a religion. Hinduism means the path. And you can literally, you know, follow the tenets of Christianity and be a Hindu, because the belief system is that all paths lead you home, and whatever path you choose to follow is what will lead you to God, basically. But Amma is a Hindu, and she was very devoted to Krishna. And through her life, she just saw so much need that her prayer really became to be of service. And in her service was hugging people. Right?
Yeah. Yes, and also and like I said before.
When I take a long pause, you're supposed to pick it up.
But I was listening as well, you know.
Yeah,
But she was when her mom became ill, you know, when she was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. She was withdrawn from school, and in order to help with the household.
Right.
And she had to care for 7 siblings.
Yes.
And then they sent her out.
I think she's one of 6.
Oh, okay. Well, then she's, I had in mind 7, maybe including her. I don't know. And she was sent out for gathering food, you know, in the neighborhood, and she saw the poverty there in the neighborhood, and she started already at that time. She was bringing them food as well,
right.
And they weren't really delighted when at home she was doing that. And she was so deeply affected by everything and the suffering she witnessed it. And one of her sayings is also that Amma says that love is expressed as compassion, and compassion means accepting the needs and sorrows of the others as one's own. And she took it literally, you know. And that's when she started to hugging people as well. Right. And it wasn't common in her community. It wasn't permissible, you know, for someone at age. She started at age 14. She was starting to hug people. Right. And it was not okay to do that, especially hugging guys, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. But she kept on, and through that she, you know, as happens in India, she developed devotees and people, and she had wisdom. No. You know, for someone who was not highly educated, she didn't come from an upper class family. I mean, she came from a lower caste in India, but she really rose to extraordinary heights. And now, I don't even know how many devotees she has all over the world, but basically what she does is she travels everywhere, and she has what we went to this weekend, and she comes in and there's all kinds of music and meditation, and then you get your chance to embrace her. And, it's a very fast break.
Well, maybe, we went there very early and we
went there because I've
token.
been there before. This is the second time I've been to her. And last year I went there sort of mid-morning, and I ended up not getting to actually get my embrace, my hug, until really late in the evening. But it doesn't matter because it's a wonderful day to spend there, and, you're walking around it, and the energy there is so very good. So it doesn't matter, but just to explain what happens, you get there and you've got, she's sitting on a platform and people are coming in. And what's really lovely is she does hug people that are in wheelchairs, and, that's a special group of people that they bring in, and they're given preference and brought up in a special group. But basically you get there and you are waiting, and it's a progression, and they have it down to a little bit of a science. You sort of move forward in the line, and then they want you to kneel down and lean forward. You're not allowed to use her to stand up, which I can imagine if you're trying to stand up and people are constantly pushing down on her, that could be quite bad for her.
Also with glasses and all this stuff.
Yeah, you have to take off your glasses. They wipe your forehead. They do all kinds of stuff to make sure, because she's wearing white, and by the end of the day, she's quite dirty from everybody's face makeup and sweat and everything. But she sat there yesterday for 6 hours.
Well, she came up at 10 and she started hugging like.
And she stopped
somewhere.
at 4.
Yeah, but she didn't start embracing right away, because first was the meditation and doing the mentioning the 1,000 names and all the stuff.
But that
so
was
we first did that, and then
with her.
With her, yeah, and then she started the hugging. Actually, the embracing started around, I don't know, around 10:30 or.
While she was.
Also, yeah, then she was starting, yeah. She said that for approximately. She started at, let's say, 10:15, 10:30 until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she had a little break.
Yeah. So she's hugging people this entire time, and a hug lasts about 20 seconds, and basically she hugs you in. Well, it's funny because, like I said, they move you in, and the volunteers that are there, making sure you're kneeling or sitting. Sometimes I'm not sure if they're communicating with each other, because one tells you to kneel, the other tells you to sit. Then they sort of push you to her, and then they sort of pull you away and toss you to the side. And
you saw what happened with me.
Yeah, so Christel had a mala, which is a beaded prayer bead thing, and it has 108 beads. And you can, in Christianity, you've got a rosary. It's sort of kind of like that with all the different beads. And she has one, and in Hinduism, you have also 108 beads where you say mantras around the beads. But Christel has one, and you can hand Amma something to bless. And so Christel's trying to hand Amma the mala, and Amma's taking it and also hugging her, but the volunteers are pulling Christel away. And at the moment Amma's trying to put the mala around Christel's neck, they're pulling her away. So as they realize that, they sort of shove her back. And then
but Amma also, while I was pulled away, and they were realizing that she wanted to put on my mala. Yeah. Amma already had grabbed on herself my shoulder, so I had the volunteers pushing me forward, and Amma was tearing me back again so she could hang it around my neck. So it was really, and I was halfway of standing up, so I wasn't really on my knees. It was really. Yeah, you've seen it. You were behind me, so
I was right behind you. And the thing is that they said to me, "Okay, kneel down."
Yeah,
they started to kneel down. They said, "No, sit down." So I was in the middle.
They did the same with me. Yeah.
And they pulled me back, but then they hug you. But in the moment that she hugs you, she whispers into your ear something like, "My darling child, my darling child," and she gives you a blessing. And then you basically stand up and move on. And there's people all around her sitting down, just watching her. And
smell the rose leaves,
Oh, that's right. She gives you, usually she gives you a prasad, so she gives you like a little gift, and mine was a little piece of candy, and usually it's some rose petals. And I had brought with me my little Kali doll, and I had wrapped my necklace around it that I wear all the time. What is the stone I wear? The hematite for grounding. And I wrapped that around there. And then I also had in my hand, though I didn't hand it to her, I had my crystal skull, the one that stays with my Kali. I had that in my hand, but the hand that I gave the little doll to, she took that and held that. And what's funny is that, you're trying to get everything, and you don't even know what you have in your hand because it's been such a frantic thing, and then you're sort of standing there. But they had offered for you to come sit down on the podium, but you said, no, I'm going with my friend. So we walked off the podium. But, it's such a thing.
She was offering me, this woman, she said, you can sit down now close to Amma.
Yeah.
But you were still there, and I was thinking, no, my time will come,
Yeah, so we walked off the podium, and then we went and had something to eat. And what's really interesting is, as you walk around, you don't really, I have to say that you don't have the experience of what you feel in the hug until after it's over. Yes,
that's right. And at the moment you are there,
In the very moment, but that moment is so fast, It's like I think it's like a delayed reaction, because it's like you're there and then you're done. And
but you're also, when you're going up there, at least that's my experience, we did all the meditations and all the mantras, and then we went up in a row with the chest to receive the embracing, the darshan.
Yes.
I was already, and I think also after we had dinner, I said to you, I was in a lightly state of meditation, and also in a little trance as well.
Yeah.
So at the time, it's also the preparation. You will receive the darshan from Amma.
Right. Sorry.
So and then when it actually is going to happen, it's real fast. But you already have the connection. You already are there in the energy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think for me, it wasn't as much. I was enjoying the environment and I was liking it, but I had that more the first time I went there.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I went, I really experienced it in a deep way, and I know it touched you, or else you wouldn't have gone back yesterday. I knew you would go back.
I knew it as well.
Yeah. And
when I got back.
So, but because you're in that energy, it's so interesting. But just to tell you, we had a couple things happen. The first year that I went with a friend of mine called Manav, and we had an amazing discussion on the way there. We were driving there, and I think, it's about an hour drive from my house to the place where it is. It's always in the town called Houten, which is in the Netherlands, and it's just a small town, and they have a convention center there, and that's where they do it every year. But we were driving, and Manav and I were having a discussion, and we had just several days before had some huge windstorms, and we lost some of the biggest trees on my street, very beautiful trees. And I was saying to Manav in the car that I had gone to the end of the street, and I have a big connection with trees, and I had felt some sadness as this one tree was toppled over because it had just been, destroyed by the wind. And I even said to the tree, I said, I thank you for being here, and I hope that your spirit has left, because the tree was destroyed, and they were, of course, cutting it down and doing everything. And then I was having this discussion with Manav about how I saw trees and how I saw them as really being our teachers, and that, that I always felt sadness when a tree fell over in that kind of way or was destroyed in some way, even though, yes, I know trees are used for paper and everything, okay. But I'm just saying, when you see a beautiful, big, beautiful tree that's fallen down, I always feel some sadness about it. And he and I had this conversation in the car, and then as we were sitting there for the evening service, Amma was talking, and I promise you that she said the exact words in the exact order that I had said them to Manav earlier in the car. And I sat there with my mouth open. I'm like, and he looked at me, and we looked at each other, and it was our conversation that we had had. And that she said that, she said the same thing. Whenever she saw a tree fall down, she had sadness and blah, 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 and that she always went to the tree and told it thank you, and she hoped it was okay. And so who knows? Did I channel her? Was she channeling me? But it was, in a way, it's a small miracle, because there was that connectivity. There was the miracle of that manifestation of that, in New Age and whatever you call it, a synchronicity. But there it was. Yeah. And it was really incredible. And then we had two more things happen. One was I had, and you know this to be true, I had been in England the week before, and I had picked up a couple chestnuts because I like them. And I had taken one of the chestnuts because I like wood, because, again, my connection to trees. And I had kept one. I gave one to Christel, actually. And I had this chestnut, and when I was sitting in the hall where Amma was, this chestnut became very soft, and I was actually able to put my finger into it and press it in a deep way, so that the chestnut had a fingerprint of mine in it. And it had become very soft, very pliable. But when we left in that evening, it was hard again. It had become very soft and very pliable. And I wasn't rubbing it in my hands or heating it up, but just in that energy, matter was transforming. And you said, oh, that's an avatar.
Yes. And
thing.
Yes, that's right. And this was a chestnut,
Yeah.
But her energy is something like, you saw my mala.
Yes.
And I'm just, while we are doing the show, I'm just playing with it, and I always have it in my hands. Some of the, some of the stones, because my mala is made from crystals.
Right.
They
round crystal beads.
Round crystal beads. Mm-hmm. And some of them are flattened. They are changed as well. Really? I'm listening to your story, and I'm just feeling it, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what's with this?
Oh, you didn't see it yesterday?
No, because I'm gonna put my mala back on my around my neck.
Right.
And I put it off last night. I was very late home, from being there. I came home at midnight, and I put it down on the table. And a few minutes before we were doing when the show was going on air, I took it, and I'm just sitting here, and I'm just touching the little beads, in the mala, and just like while we are talking, and I just felt a few of them are flattened, are having a different shape.
Wow.
This is really.
Well, that's awesome. You have to get a picture of it and
really.
Let me see. Because the third thing that happened, the third miracle, I will say, is that is Manav had a small stone that his brother had given him. Manav is Indian, and his brother in India is a holy man and a healer. And his brother had given him this rectangular stone to keep in his pocket for protection. And Manav was showing me the stone, and I was playing with it in my hands, and I was actually able to reshape the stone from a rectangle into a square. This piece of small, it's a blue-greenish stone, I don't know what it was, but it was something his brother had given him, and I was just playing with it in my hands. But in that atmosphere, this stone was, again, very pliable. And he watched me just mold it, and I had been playing with this chestnut, and he gave me the stone because we were just sort of amazed, and I was actually able to manipulate this stone into a square from a rectangular shape, and so he has it, and to this day, it is, first of all, as soon as we left there, it was hard as a rock again. It had always been a rock, and it is still a square. So those for us on that last year were 3 miracles that happened, and what it did is it gave me that connection to Amma. It gave me that connection. And I think everyone who goes there experiences something,
Yes,
and
that's
so
true.
that was what happened last year. And then this year, I didn't even know about the mala for you yesterday.
No, but I haven't seen it yesterday because
you didn't see it till just now.
Yes, I was playing with it. I was thinking, what's this? It's like, because like I said, I went back yesterday. And I came home very late, and I put off the mala,
right?
And I didn't look at it. The last time I looked at it was when I was handing it over to Mother Amma, and I was already, when we were sitting there, I was already playing with the mala, so I know that everything is round, but it's not, but there are more,
I saw it yesterday, and the stones were round. They are round. They were
very
round
hard,
crystal beads.
Yeah. But it's not. Some of them are having a little, it's like they are pushed in, or it's strange.
That's what happens with these stones.
Can't. Yeah. The only thing I can remember yesterday that I was holding the mala in my hand, and when he was hanging around on my neck, that in some spots he was very warm. Like you had the same thing, like you were saying, like, feel my crystal skull. It's almost burning, so warm,
Right.
And I had it with my mala, and I'm thinking, oh, okay. So probably that's what I guess.
I want to look
then
at
something has changed then, But this is really, I think when I showed the mala to Alexandra, she would say, what did you do with the mala? I feel guilty.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm just joking. But that's what made, But
that's awesome.
When we were sitting
that's
on
really awesome.
Yeah, but it is the energy. If it's someone, I had a discussion yesterday, and she said like, oh, so that Amma, it's a real happening. And I said, well, you can't say it's a happening. It's a really spiritual experiences. It's like being devoted, meditation. It's not a happening. It's like a real, state of when you're all together there and connecting. It's just like. Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful experience.
Yes.
First of all, we had, just to go further, after what had happened is I had been in contact with the press person for Amma, because I was wanting to do the show live from there, but they weren't going to be there on Sunday, so it wasn't possible to do that. But I had spoken with the press person, and I just had wanted to go up and say hi to her. And when we did go up and say hi to her, she said, oh, have you all been on the podium? And we said, yes, we had our hugs. And she said, well, did you sit on the podium with Amma? And we said, no, we hadn't. And Christel had said, yes, she had the chance, but she didn't do it. She said, well, come on, I'll have you, and you can sit right next to her. So we went on to the podium, and there's a lot of people, and basically people are sitting around, and you sit down, and as people get up and leave, you move forward. And that's what we did. And we sat there for, I guess, about an hour. Mm-hmm. And it, at first you're thinking, well, why are people sitting on the podium just watching her hug people? So, but as soon as you sit down I looked at you and I said I could really cry because it's really sitting in the presence of pure love, and I mean that honestly.
Feel it and see it,
You see it, but you feel it, you know it, and all the stuff. And this is why, again, the sort of motivation of the show today is about talking about worship, not to worship Amma, but worship in the way of worshiping something that is, bigger than yourself. And again, yes, we are part of God. Yes, we are creating our own reality. But there is a humility that comes with knowing that we don't know it all. That there's a bigger plan. And there's a bigger work and a bigger knowledge that we are not as connected to as we need to be. At least our awareness is not.
Yes.
And there is something to be said for being humble and in awe of divinity. And sitting there in that love, in that purity of knowingness, it lets everything else become really what it is, and that's nothing. There was a saying that was on the wall, and I really wish I had written it down in the moment, but it was something to the effect of having everything and having nothing. There's no difference. It's the knowing of what is real that is the truth. And if you know what is real, you have everything, and you can want for nothing, so you can miss nothing.
And just sitting there is like feeling, sensing, but you can see an hour, I can see this, but it's just like being there. It's like, for people, if you were sitting there and you could see an hour or energetic fields, it looked like gold. That's what I saw.
That's what I'd seen last year and this year as well. She's the first person I've ever seen, and I do see auras that actually has a gold shimmery aura. I've never seen that before on anyone.
Me neither.
Ever. And I saw it last year, and it was incredible to see it. The first person I've ever seen with that gold aura. And it's just the pureness. It's just literally the pureness that is there. And it's something to aspire to in my opinion, to that, that pure, just love. Just love. It's only love. There's just nothing there else but love there.
But also when you see people who are having the embrace, like some of them are really having sorrows and other stuff, they don't need to say sometimes anything to her, because that's what Mother Amma says, I know the whisper of your heart,
Right.
So I was looking towards her, and she, we were sitting on the right of her, and she was looking towards, well, we could see her in her eyes, we just could see it. And I saw literally people coming there, some people which you could read the sorrow and the pain and the suffering. And actually when they stood up after the embrace, some of them I saw a glimpse of a smile, or really like, a change in the people. Not in all of them, but in some of them I was watching it,
Yeah.
So that's really beautiful if you can do that.
She accepts everyone in their, in just who they are. And, I think like Mother Teresa did it, Diana did it, Princess Diana. It's important to touch people. Not only touch their hearts, but to physically touch them and embrace them and acknowledge them. And if you watched how she touched people who were, say, in a wheelchair or in who were crippled in some way, she would touch their head, she would hug them, she would run her hand around their arms and up and down their legs, across their chest, the upper part of their chest, touching them, in a way of, yes, blessing, but it's also a way of just accepting them in their totality as being total.
In their wholeness, yeah.
In their wholeness. And we, so much of the time, turn away from people who are not like us because we're uncomfortable. I don't know why that is. Why would we be uncomfortable with somebody else's stuff? But the most loving thing you can do to someone is accept them for who they are as a complete being. Acknowledging them first is the first one. Acknowledging them and, touching them is important. It's important. I know that whenever I used to give readings and some people would come to me and they would say, what can I do for my mother, who is dying? And I would say, just hold her hand. Just touch her. If she was like in a coma or whatever, just touch her, just reach out to her in some way. But we can do that to so many people. We can reach out and grab their hand or hug them or touch them. They don't have to be in a coma. They don't have to be sick. Mm-hmm. But we can do that to just anyone. It's a much kinder gesture.
And if you're not able to touch them,
just
give them a glimpse of your smile,
right.
of your kindness, and just if you sometimes you can't start touching people but just look them into the eye, and you can say, that's what I do most of the time. And I did a little test, about that, my test, on the central station here in Utrecht.
Yeah.
I just did it. I was just looking and connecting to people. Nobody was looking, and then I said a little sentence in my head, like I see you. You are me, and I'm you, and and I'm honoring you. And just when some people started to look straight into my eye, then I gave them a smile, and they smiled back.
Right.
Yes.
I think there's just little things you can do for people. There's something that's happening in America right now, which is really kind of sweet. They do this thing called paying it forward, because in America, everyone goes through drive-through windows a lot.
Yeah.
And we go through the drive-through window to get coffee. So what a lot of the times that people will do, and there's like a trend, is someone will say, okay, I'm paying for mine, but I'm also paying for whatever the people behind me had. So I will say paid for my coffee, and then there's a car with two people, and I pay for their coffee. And then when you come to the window, the person says to you in the window, the person ahead of you paid for your coffee. Would you like to pay for the person behind you? And sometimes, and they'll do it, and they call paying it forward. And they've set records of like 200 people paying for the people behind them, and just sort of giving to them in that way. And that's just a small thing. But it's such a great feeling. It's a great feeling of giving. It's also receiving. There's so many little different things. Today I came home and I have to tell you, and don't tell Alexandra, but I've made a lot of chocolate cupcakes today after our discussion yesterday. But I took them to all my neighbors today, and I have this thing. I like to make cupcakes, and then I force feed them to all the people around me. But so you can just do little things. You can just reach out to people in ways that they don't expect, and it does make a difference. It's important, I think, in a way that you're giving. and not only just always expecting and saying, where's my stuff? You know, you don't know what your little gesture will do, you know, and how that will come back later, and the warmth that creates and the connection. I think it's the connection that, you know, we talk about oneness. That's why the show is called this. We say we're all one, but do we act like it? Do we really, really act like it?
Walk your talk, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Walk your talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I always do it.
No,
you know?
I'm not saying I do either.
I mean, I wish I was. You know?
Well, I think the thing is that now that we're talking about it, you know, now that it's a sort of, you know, it's one thing to sort of, okay, like, for instance, when I first started knowing about God, when I was a small kid, you know, God said in the Bible, and it was pointed out to me by my guides, they showed me that if I wanted to know God, that I needed to understand that I had to love people, because you can't love God and hate people, because you can't see God, but you can see people. So how can you hate people and then say you love God? You know, that was the whole thing. And so and then as I got older, they explained to me the connectivity that we had with everyone. And then, you know, as I got more into Hinduism, I started to understand about oneness. And then you, of course, you know that you are part of the whole and everyone is one. It's a progression. But I think we are at the point where at least some of us, and hopefully more of us get there, is that we are ready to start walking this talk. You know, if you don't know anything about it, you may just do it naturally, you know, and I think little children tend to do it more naturally.
Most of the time, I think we all started when we were born.
Yeah.
Doing it in a natural way.
Yeah, and then, you know, that does tend to fall away as you get a little older. But, you know, we are ready to start embracing what we say we believe. And if we truly believe, and this is what I've been saying for the last month, is when do we believe what we really say we believe? And there is an action that accompanies that. There is a responsibility that we have to take. We don't have to. That's, you know, but please don't get me on semantics. I don't want to argue those things. But if you say you believe something, you must not believe it if you don't act that way. You know? Do we really believe we're one? Do we really, really believe it?
If you would ask me that question?
Yeah.
You want to have an answer?
Yes, I do.
I would say yes, definitely.
Okay.
I experience it more and more and more and more. You know, every day. Every day.
Yeah, and then experiencing it and knowing that you can create the world however you want to. You know, what is our responsibility to other people? I think about, like, Victoria Vives, who has a show on this network, and she is so dedicated to creating a sustainable world. That is her passion. And I really believe that she will make significant contributions in doing that. You know, she's constantly thinking about how what she does affects the earth. She has a heart for Mother Earth that's beautiful. And she really is invested in understanding sustainable living, eco this and that, and all these things that I have no idea about. And, you know, different people make different contributions. That's really my point. But everybody can contribute something. And I think I would like to see my prayer, and I'd like to share an Amma's prayer, that we start thinking less about what we can get and more about what we can give in that. You know, if we can ease just one other person's life, we create such a much more beautiful world for ourselves than any of the stuff that we think that we want will ever do.
Yes.
You know?
And
go ahead now.
You know, it's like if one person is starting, it's just like domino, you know, like those falling domino stones. If one person is starting to tell and to talk and also act like it, then someone else will get infected with it as well, and will also start to talk and spread it and start acting like it. So a lot of people get more awareness, and then it's just like it's spreading out.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing to do so, you know.
It is. One of the things that was really something is I got to see Christel's little son yesterday. His name is, can I say his name?
Yes, you can.
His name is Christian. He's a beautiful little boy, very beautiful boy. And as I was looking at this perfect little human and his perfect little humanness, you know, the only thing I was thinking is that I want him to grow up with is understanding who he is and understanding his own value and understanding that, you know, his part of this world is going to be very important, in that the world is better now that he's in it, and that he has all the potential to do whatever he wants. And what I hope for him is that what he wants to do is make his world better as well. You know, because he holds all the potential. He's just the seed sprouting of a beautiful tree that's growing, and he can grow and go in any direction at this point. You know, but in his perfect little perfectness, you know, you just see all the potential, and you want his world.
Yeah,
his pureness.
Not because he's my son, but he's really pure.
Yeah, well, he's really pure, and all children are pure, and all children have that. But we have also all been children. We've also all been that pure. We've also all had that much potential, you know. And if we haven't, you know, found it, if we haven't done anything with it, we still have the time to do so in the tiniest little ways.
Yeah, but don't you think that children are growing up now? I mean, when you were also with Amma yesterday, there's a lot of children were there, and young children, and a lot of young people. Don't you think that's already the next generation who's coming, visiting on this earth right now? Has already made that change. Is already, you know, we are going back to that kind of awareness and the pureness.
Yeah.
And they already have it, and they keep it longer or for a longer period of time than we have.
Well, I think so. Yes, I think, you know, it's the duality as well. I think there is as much of that happening as there is as much of that not happening, and it's, you know, we still have a long way to go in the world, and yes, I believe that the children coming in now have probably more potential to make the most beautiful world, because they come in with an awareness, a level of awareness
that's what I mean. Yeah.
that hasn't been seen before. But it is still the job of the adults to guide them into holding on to that. You know, there's no sort of set way that anybody can go, and people will still have to grow up. People are still going to have their challenges. And if you look around the world as it is right now, there's a lot of very beautiful stuff happening, and there's some pretty ugly stuff happening. And I think it's great to acknowledge the beautiful stuff, but we have to acknowledge the stuff that's not going well.
Yeah, you also need to face that as well.
Yeah, and we have to, you know, really start looking at it and start sending our energy, sending our love. You know, you just don't know, and I'm just going to paint a scenario. You don't know what people are doing or what they're thinking, and I believe, and I had this discussion with my mom, when I was home in South Carolina. I've been just home for a couple of weeks, but we had this discussion, and I really believe that there is a moment in everybody's life that is a turning point. And I know that in every moment we make decisions. But I do believe it's like the trajectory of a plane going in a certain direction. If a plane is traveling from point A to point B, the plane is constantly how do you call it? If it's going on a certain course, it's constantly recalibrating its direction, because in every moment we have choices. So you'll start, if you're going from point A to point B, sometimes you'll start to go off a little bit in a certain direction, but then you correct and you get back on your path, basically. And I think in everybody's life, there's little choices that we make, either keep us on our path or take us off of our path. And by our path, I mean our spiritual path and our sort of path to awakening, and our path to knowingness. And
your path to self-realization.
Your path to self-realization. And in self-realization, coming to the understanding of your oneness. And this is a path of love, In becoming aware of yourself, the more you know yourself, the more you love yourself, the more you love other people, it definitely will be a descriptive type of life that someone who is on that path will make. And as you make choices in your life, if you're constantly correcting, you're staying basically on your path and you're moving forward. But I think for some people, if they don't correct, they start to go off path. And even if it's 2 degrees, like a plane, if you're 2 degrees off your path and you keep going for too long a period of time, sometimes it becomes harder and harder to correct, to get back to your original path. And I do believe that in people's lives, there are moments that are more significant than other moments that say in which way our life is going to go. And what I'm saying is that there, as people who are selflessly serving other people in love, those interactions that you have with certain people can make all the difference in the world. I know that there are specific people and specific choices that I have made in my life that were turning point moments. That if I had chosen one thing versus the other, my life would have gone in a completely different way. And they're important moments. And when it comes to children and when it comes to interacting with people, it can be the difference between someone, becoming a drug addict, someone being a success in their life, someone taking their own life, someone helping another person. There are very important key moments that make all the difference in the world. And if we're really loving each other, we're not missing those moments to affect other people. We may never know how that one thing we did affected another person, but I know that in my life, there's one things that people have done that have affected me greatly and have kept me on my path. And we can only hope to do that for someone else. And you only can do that by really being love and being in touch with your own truth. Right?
Yes. I was listening. I just
you get quiet. I get nervous.
Oh, no, you shouldn't. No, you always, you know that. I'm always the one who's a bit quiet,
I know.
So don't get nervous. No, but it's like when you were saying about you can really change with your little actions. You really can change someone's life, And while I was listening to you, I was thinking about an example I've read before we went to Sri Amma. I was reading a bit about her, and she has also been, before she came to Holland, she has been in France, and she also has been in Germany.
Yeah.
And there was a person in Germany, and that person went to see Amma. But that person also had an opportunity just to ask something to Amma. Some people can put a question to her, so she can talk about spirituality or other stuff, for in life. And this person was almost like on the part of like, okay, what should I do? Should I take my life? So shall I go kill myself?
Right.
Because I can't deal with all the suffering and all the stuff I'm having in my life right now. Or I go to see Amma, for instance, and that person went to see Amma and had a little chat with her. And that was that was a turning point for that person who was suffering from depressions and all that stuff. I don't know what Amma told that person, but what I do know is that was the turning point for that person to not go out and take their own life.
Right.
And that's only about like having a chat and having a hug,
right.
just so. I think that's also being in service to one another. You can always, before you say something or before you started to think something, just be aware, just be aware before you are doing something. Because we are one and we are interacting with each other and we can change each other's life as well. So I was thinking about that when you were talking about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you have any examples in your life? Was there a moment where someone reached out to you or said something to you that...
Many moments in my life. Yes, many moments. When I was doing high school, I had a serious... it was one of the hardest periods in my life. I was very young and I had to live on my own on a very young age because of circumstances. And I had almost nothing, not enough money. I just could only afford one warm dinner in a week.
Wow.
Because I didn't have that much money. And I was in high school. And there was a teacher on that school, a principal. He was a principal there as well. And I had really severe problems. Like, I wanted to finish my high school and I wanted to do my academic studies, and I had nothing. And I was like, and he came up to me and he said, okay, we as a school will help you. And they offered me a loan. And I said, no, I don't want your money. And he said, yes, you are going to sign the contract. You're going to sign, you want to take a loan. I said, no. And then he said, okay, what make your own contract then. And I did. And I started to do a lot of things back for my school, and start paying back the money. And I took the loan so I could finish my education. And that was one of the turning points in my life, because if he didn't reach out for me, well, I don't know, maybe I would have been homeless or a drug addict or something. Not that I'm suffering from addictions, but just for an example, I could have been nothing.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
And how did he know your situation?
Because he saw me struggling, and one time, and everyone on the school was saying like, "Oh, that's Mr. So and So. You have to be nice." He was really a hard, a dedicated, principal as well. And he came towards me and he said, "What's wrong with you? Why you are so sad?" And I said, "I'm not looking sad." He said, "Yes, you do." And I said, "Well, I'm just fighting my battles." And he said, "Do you want to talk about it?" I said, "No." And he said, "Yes, but you are a great student, and I don't want you to drop out." And I said to him, "Are you afraid I would drop out then?" He said, "Well, I don't know, but there's something, I don't know what."
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard a little voice saying to me, like, "Christel, just tell him that you are a young girl." I think I was age 16, and I was living on my own, and I had to do everything with just a little money. Just tell him you have problems like that you're coming to school and sometimes don't have enough money to buy proper food. Just tell him that. And I didn't want to because I was a bit proud. I had my pride, you know. But that voice was saying, say it now. So I told him. And he said, well, thank God. I thought there was a lot of more issues going on. That's what he said to me. You know? So, and that's why because of him, I graduated. And I hadn't had the opportunity to tell him until 10 years later when we had a high school reunion. And I don't like that, you know. But I went just only to say to him, thank you for what you did. So, yeah. And we are all doing that to each other, you know.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think that's also important. I think that, you know, people who have touched you, it's sometimes nice to acknowledge them and they do have a Hindu,
as well.
They have a Hindu holiday, well, they called it a festival, and it may or may not be an actual festival, but a festival day where you do go and thank all of your teachers and your gurus and the people who've influenced you positively in your life, because it's important to acknowledge them and to let them know how they've affected you. And it encourages you to go on, you know. And
also, it's also encourage you to inspire other people. At least it was for me.
Yes.
Like since when I was a young child, but also since then, I don't need to be a witch. I don't need to be like, you know, have a lot of material stuff. I always said like, my wish is that I'm also able to inspire other people's life as other people did with my life, you know. So
right.
That's so nice to do so.
Right. You know, it's interesting. So here's one woman who's just gave us a hug yesterday, and it spawned so much inspiration and so much conversation. I mean, think about it. You know, we're talking about one action that can have such an influence on you. And think about that. Yeah.
And of course, of everything which people, what people are buying from her, stuff from her. With that money, she does a lot of good stuff in the world, you know.
Oh yeah, she has. I think
start up a hospital.
She has hospitals and schools and universities. When Katrina came, she gave $1 million.
Yes.
To the Katrina victims when they had the big tsunami. I think she singularly gave the most money of anybody.
Yes.
For the tsunami. Yeah. But, you know, the thing of it is people are constantly giving her money, so she just takes everything and gives it right into her charity.
But isn't it the energy of giving and taking and receiving, you know? It's like if you are only taking, in some point that energy flow will stop.
Right.
And it's the same the other way around. If you only are giving and not taking sometimes, then also the energy flow will stop. And Mother Amma is doing it in balance. She's giving a lot of herself, you know, giving a lot of energy. She doesn't get even tired after 16 hours embracing. You know?
We don't know if she gets tired or not.
Well, she has the breaks. No, but she has the breaks. But still, when we were sitting there, she was going on and on and on and on. And she was still smiling and still had the softness, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what she gives. But in return, she's also receiving a lot. So that's making the circle around.
Yes. And, you know, about giving and receiving, when you're giving, you know, when you're giving, it's a great thing. Receiving is, like you said, is also the balance of the energy, but that's also true abundance. Mm-hmm. You know, abundance is created in that flow, you know, because if you believe that you have enough, then you will have enough. So what is the difference is if you're giving or receiving, if you're believing that you have enough in that abundance. You know, if there's plenty, then there's plenty to give and there's plenty to receive. And by sort of starting it, it becomes like perpetual motion.
Yeah.
And what you see in the West, is that people really give money, you know, and in the India and places like that, they give beads or they give, you know, something that they've made. But there's a difference.
Or other stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's a balance of what people have. You know, in India, it's very common you can go live and serve in an ashram or something very easily, and society doesn't say boo about it, you know. But in the West, it's much harder to do that because
that reminds me of my retreat.
Yeah,
people were responding on it.
Yeah. So because you still in the West, you have to pay your rent, you have obligations, you know, there's a lot of things that keep you sort of in that, you know, from sort of going and serving. But in the West, we give a lot of money.
I don't know.
We also have much more money.
I don't know if it's about like keeping you in it, because I do believe and maybe some people don't like it what I'm going to say. I mean, Alexandra, for instance, or something. I think when I
have... listening?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But I'm always, you know, I'm not going to lie. So, but I'm not really, you know, I'm not really agreeing with what you were saying that we in the West have problems. That is much more difficult for us to say, like, we are going to an ashram and live in service.
I mean, don't take it as a blanket statement, but I will challenge you. But we can't. A holy man in India can walk around with a bowl, and people will feed him and not think anything of it. If you walk around with a bowl and ask for food on the street here, you will be either arrested or told to go away, and seen as a menace.
I think it's like
it's different in society.
Yes, it has to do with the mentality. With the mentality, like. But what I wanted to say was like, if I had the guts, really had the guts, with my retreat, I could easily step out of it and just live it. There's a woman in Germany. She's living for 65. She's over I think she's 65 or even older, and she started to live without money already.
I read about it.
So it is possible also in our Western society. Maybe it's taking a little guts as well. You know, you have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything is possible. You know, I went to see Kirk Nielsen and his daughter Bridget, and they have a intentional living community called Harmonious Earth. And the whole premise is that everyone contributes to the whole, and they all live together. I don't know that that's necessarily for me, but I understand the principle, you know. I don't know that that's the most necessary thing to do. I mean, I think it works for them because that's something that's sort of their greatest joy, and they're following their bliss in that. But you know, I don't know that we necessarily have to live with nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with making a living and having a home and doing all those things either. I mean, it's all about balance and what you want. It's not necessarily, you know, one thing is not better than the other.
No, it's all okay.
It's all okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to go live, I don't know if you can give in Alexandra, but if you want to live, would you want to live in an ashram or not?
You can better ask me that off record, not on a radio show. So you already have my answer.
Well, I would like to go and spend time there.
No joking.
I don't know that I would want to live in 100% of the time.
I can live there, yeah. And you know that for a long time. You know me. There is a deeper craving inside of me, and I was just joking when I was giving you the last answer. Because Alexandra knows that I would have, if the opportunity will be there, I can do it easily.
Mm-hmm.
Living in an ashram or somewhere, it's like I'm not so attached in living in here, and doing the stuff which I'm doing now. And yeah, so some people think I'm crazy.
I could do it part-time, but I don't think I could do it 100%. It's not that I couldn't do it. I could, of course, but I don't think I want to.
Yeah, that's the difference, about wanting or can do it, or that's.
Yeah.
I would love to do it, and I think I can do it. Though
but
not
do you
now.
think you would want to do it 100% or just sort of?
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Yes. But I can do it now. So, I don't want to do it now, and I can do it now because I have also my commitment to my family.
Right
now, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my choice.
Well, I know that some of the people that I talk to, they go for 6 months and then they come back for 6 months. So they live in the ashram and come back. And, you still have to split your life in that way, though. You have to, sorry, let me yawn. I was breathing in. But you still have to split your life. And I know even being in the States for 2 months, maintaining 2 homes is a lot of responsibility, So, but that's a totally different discussion, and it's not necessary. But I do think there's value in that, in doing that, and working as part of the whole. In an ashram, you have your you can go and just do your meditation and you go as a guest. But if you actually live there, then you take part in the workings of the place, and you're contributing to the running of it.
And then you will see, and you will notice that, and I was noticing it yesterday while I was with Amma. You will see that everything is important. What you do there for the kind of job, it's not like I want to do this or I want to do that. And that's also in an ashram. You take your position, and you are doing the thing where you are needed, without thinking about I don't want to do that. Like for instance, I don't want to do the dishes. You just you're just a tiny person in the whole, in the wholeness, in the bigger perspective. Just like one piece of it, one piece of the necklace, I would say, So.
Well, it's important to understand that everybody does have their part in the world, and the world would not function if there wasn't somebody doing the dishes somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have a lot of dirty dishes out there. I think, and that was the thing about Harmonious Earth with what they're trying to do is that, what they're saying is everybody's contribution is a contribution to the whole. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, if you are the window washer that you have more value than the dishwasher, or if you're the person who, I don't know, cooks the food, that you have more value than, the person who mows the lawn. I mean, everybody has a value, and everybody has an equality in their contribution. And that's a very hard thing, the way our society is structured. We don't see everything as the same. I mean, if you're in a certain level, people are cleaning dishes around you and mowing your lawn, and you don't even know how those things are even happening. Yeah. So you don't value them at all.
You take things for granted.
You do take things for granted. And it's important to start acknowledging. I think a nice exercise for people would be to look around them, and everything, just for a day, just try it for one day. And I think in Course in Miracles, they do it a little bit, but not in this way. Everything you touch I think what I'd like to see happen is if you pick up a glass for just one moment, this is just about being conscious, realize that someone made that glass. And I want you to thank them for making it. And then somebody got the raw materials together to make that glass. And you should thank them for them doing it. And someone conceived of that glass, and you should thank them for doing it. You know, and if everything that you touch and everything that you do, you acknowledge the contribution of the person or the group of people who actually made something possible for your life, it would give you a bigger appreciation. Because, you know, every little thing that we have around us, everything that we touch, that we need, that we use, has been made by somebody, sourced by somebody, and creatively thought of by somebody. Everything around us, there are hundreds of people involved. You know, not only was the thing that was made, it was packaged, it was taken to a store, it was put on a shelf. You know, it was, I mean, everything has so many things touching it that if we were to start to pay attention to how much everything around us was connected to so many people, we would be in such an appreciation of the creativity and the productivity of the world. I think you start to look at everything much differently. You start to see a through line of time and of people and of the contributions, like I said, of everyone. And it's just a way of having an appreciation. You know, stuff doesn't just poof and land in your home. It may seem like it does. I can't imagine where all this crap that I have has come from. But it has come from somebody, somewhere, and someone, and somehow. And I've gone out somewhere and gotten it and brought it back. But be aware. Be aware of what's around you. Be aware of the contribution that so many have made just to bring you one little thing.
And it's also be thankful for the earth, you know.
Yeah, the earth that
a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot the whole earth. Sorry. I'm talking about the people who've done it, but there's the whole earth that's given us all this stuff. But think about that. I mean, it goes so far back. And, you know, in acknowledging all of those things, you know, we start to understand how connected we are. Some guy somewhere thought about a glass. He wanted to make the perfect glass in the perfect way. And all those things have come forward to that moment that glass is just standing there forgotten in your cabinet. You know? It's important. It's very important. It's important to have the awareness around you and the mindfulness so that you experience. I was on Roxanne Swainhart's show a couple of weeks back, and I was talking about being in the moment. And it's a very important thing to be in the moment. And I was saying that just eating something is so sensual, but how much of the time do we just shove it in and we don't even know what we're eating? We barely taste it. We've swallowed it before we even let, you know, it pass our taste buds. But in the savoring of every moment, savor the way your hand picks up your fork, or the way that you remove the wrapper or the plastic or whatever it is around you that you know, the plate that you select, that you put the thing on that you're going to eat, the way your hand moves as you bring it to your mouth and you smell whatever it is you're eating, and you just savor those very moments. And if you think about all the stuff that actually has gone on to get you to that one moment, you are living lifetimes and lifetimes and experiencing so many different things just in appreciating all the different things that have brought you to that moment. And it allows you such a bigger perspective, much bigger than just opening up the refrigerator, sticking your hand in, grabbing whatever you can and shoving it in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the glass that you use, you know, it came from somewhere, it came from the earth. But all those things have worked together to bring you that perfect glass. I don't know where this conversation is going, but I think it's, you know, it's about the moment and about appreciation and about.
Isn't it like it's oneness, but it's also oneness is being one in the present. It's
yeah.
You know, it's being in the whole. You know,
being in the whole, you know, being thankful for all of it and really appreciating it and really experiencing it. I think the oneness thing is we are all individuals experiencing our own stuff as individual parts of the whole. But how much of our life are we really experiencing, and how much of are we just dialing in and just sort of coasting through? You know, truly being in the moment and truly savoring. You know, the one thing about hugging Amma is you had just seconds to have that experience,
mm-hmm.
you know, and really sort of savoring it for everything that it was in the moment was so important. But you can savor all of your life in that way. You can savor other people in that way. You know, everybody has a story. Everybody was the concept of a great creator. And there's a lot of moving parts that got that person to be standing in front of you right at that moment. You know, everybody has our own life. Everyone has had their own stuff. And if we can appreciate all of that, you know, and acknowledge the equality of them to you, and really say, you know, namaste. Namaste is, and it's saying the God in me sees, knows, acknowledges, and loves the God that is you.
Yeah.
The God in you or the God that is you.
Yeah.
You know? And it's very important to say that. You cannot look at another person and say, the God in me sees, knows, and loves and acknowledges the God in you, and look down on them because they are you. You know?
And it's also the law of karma. You know, what you give, you will get back in some way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not directly. I mean, you can be.
Well, sometimes directly.
Well, you know what my vision is about that, and maybe people are agreeing, maybe not. If I would say, like, if I treating someone like, beep, and looking downwards to someone, and I get my karma back directly, then I would say if the person is getting it back instantly, well, then there must be then you are blessed, you know, because you get the opportunity to get conscious about your actions, and you are also getting instantaneously the opportunity to try to change your actions as well.
Yeah.
If you have to wait longer, maybe you forget, or you've been forgotten, or you are not aware anymore, you know. So if I do something wrong, please give it right back to me right now. You know, that's what. Yeah.
I always say,
oh my God,
the faster it comes back to you, the better.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't come back to you in such a sort of explosive way, but the longer a time it takes to you, the more momentum it kind of builds up, and it can come and, you know, knock you on your ass.
And you are not so aware anymore. You already are forgotten what you did.
Yes.
So when it's coming back like a boomerang, and it's coming back in a very short period of time, you would say, oh my God, okay, then you have to face it.
But let's make a distinction, because karma is not judgment in the way.
Not judgment.
Karma, people always say stuff like karma's a bitch, and that's judgment. Because no one.
That's just nonsense. Yeah.
That's people are basically saying you've done something to me and now you're going to get yours. Well, that's your wishful thinking. That somebody is going to have something happen for something that they've done. But karma isn't about getting payback. Well, okay, yeah, it is actually about getting payback. I'm going to but it's payback on every level.
Yes.
Whatever you do, it's sort of the law of motion. Every action or every motion has an equal and opposite motion that comes back. So basically, whatever you put in, you're going to get out. Like you said, that is inevitable. That is something that is not going to change.
Yes.
You are going to get it's like planting seeds. Whatever you harvest is something that you've planted. It can be that you have a very great life and you do a lot of great things and you get a lot of great stuff all the time. But that one time that you did something that was maybe not creating the best harmony, that's how you can still bring in stuff that's kind of prickly. Because
and it's not about just doing the actions. It can already start with a simple thought.
Well, I mean, it's a thought. Thoughts
people. Yeah.
There's something called the reticular activating system that's in your it's in your brain, but it's in the lower part of your brain. They call it the RAS, the reticular activating system, and it is the thing that doesn't know if what you're thinking is true or what you're doing is true. It just knows that a thought is the same thing as an action. So you know how it says in the Bible, if a man thinks he sins, he sins?
Yes.
Because it's whatever you believe is true. So if you've lied to someone, it's the same thing as stealing from them in a way. It has the same in your reticular activating system. Your mind is acknowledging it in the same way, and I think it's the same thing in the karmic world of thinking and doing are the same.
Yes, those bad habits, someone can have. Yeah.
Well, what do you mean by bad habits?
Well, some people like what you are doing, like bad habits, like stealing, lying, all this stuff.
I hope that's not a habit.
Some people, maybe, some people it is, and they want to get rid of it. Some people are conscious that they are stuck in a pattern. They want to get out of there. So then it's a habit.
Okay. But for the sake of our conversation, the having negative thoughts is the same as maybe saying them or having negative action, and it does come back to you. But again, it's not judgment. It's not that some God is out there, passing judgment on you and punishing you for your actions. It's just saying if you plant rotten seeds, you're going to get rotten plants. If you plant rotten things, you're going to get stuff rotten back, or you'll get nothing. You'll get nothing. And that's really karma. Karma is the action, the resulting action being equal to the action that was put forward.
Mm-hmm.
So again, karma is not about judgment. It's not about being judged. It's about what you sow, you will reap. And you could have had a great life most of the time, and there's just a few times where you're sowing bad stuff. And then you wonder, well, why am I getting something negative popping into my experience? Well, it's because of some of the other stuff that you sowed. But depending on where you are, no matter what's popping into your experience, you can clean it up or not clean it up.
Yes, I always that's how I see it. I always like to see it as life lessons as well. with lessons of life,
Yes.
And it's even more lessons of learning to create even better.
Yes.
You have to know what you don't want to know what you want sometimes.
Yes, you do. And, you can experience things that are, less than ideal and still come out of them fine and appreciate like you said, the opportunity to learn and to do it a little differently. Great strides and inventions are made by a lot of failure, but you can learn from every little thing. You can adjust it, and you never know what you're going to discover along the way, So even within a failure of something or something that's not exactly what you want, there's still great opportunity and great things that can come from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yesterday, one hug led to a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's making you think, and also when you are there and just seeing, did you saw people there walking around with not a smile on their face? I mean, a lot of people, I saw people literally, maybe some examples there aren't that, I saw a lot of people smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And if they came in and they weren't smiling, within a minute of time they were smiling and everyone was nice to each other. There was really a good energy and a commitment and connection to one another. And it doesn't mean that you always have to sit down and start talking to everyone who's around of you. No, it's just like being there in the same devotional environment and share that kind of stuff with each other and and feel the compassion.
So in the last few minutes that we have about 12 minutes left, but what is the biggest thing you've taken from this, and what does it mean for you moving forward?
For me,
what are some of the things you want to do now?
Giving more attention to walking my talk and living my highest joy and spread and inspire that to the world and to other people.
But can you give an example of how or what? In what way do you think that?
Like I already was doing it, helping people just for nothing in return, and also talk about oneness and starting to discuss things with people. And that's just like I will continue doing that. And also I will go back maybe for a few months back to the spiritual center as well.
Or the one that the retreat you went on before?
Yes, or another one.
Right.
And just being in service.
Right.
And helping other people to exceed their potentials as well.
And in your daily stuff?
I hope I can be a good guide for my little son.
Yeah.
And to be a teacher for him and give him all the spiritual values and let him grow as a really full awareness young little man.
Yeah. Well, I want to help with that too because he's so awesome.
Yeah, I hope I will be good for him, and I don't. That's my and I want him to be happy, and I don't need anything in return. I hope he will also inspire other people as well. And he's already so young, 9 weeks, but he's touching people already.
I want to give also back to the earth. I want to, do something environmentally. I don't know exactly what that would be yet, but I have this feel to do something more with the environment and to give back to the earth as well. So, and on the bigger scale, I hope that, just talking on this show will inspire people for my own self as well. Just also the worship is very important. Meditating, acknowledging, doing doing the pujas and, and focusing energy, sending out energy for world peace and for people waking up in their awareness, as well as my own awareness. For, actually more importantly my own than anyone else's, because as I wake up, everyone will wake up.
Yes.
But to be focused on that, and then again to serve in whatever way God wants. In whatever way. And yesterday, the girl from Amma said to me, she said, "What is it that you really want? What is it? What is your wish?" And I said, I really want, like I've been saying, I want to really be all the stuff that I talk about.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I hope I'm also humbly can help you with that. Like you can help me, and we can help all other people to do so.
Yeah. Well, it's a good start. You and I can start with you and me.
Well, we already are doing that, didn't we?
Well, we have to keep going.
Yeah, of course. But that's also what kept me in mind, that I wanted to say to you, thank you for yesterday and the days before and all the other days that will coming,
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know what it will bring, but thank you for being there and, and just so I just wanted to say that. You're
welcome, and thank you as well. Thank you for all the stuff. All the cool stuff, think of how far we've come, Christel.
Yes, we did.
I know. Pretty
awesome. That's why I'm saying that.
Well, thank you, and I agree with you. It's awesome. It's awesome. So, long way to go, but we've come a long way as well. Yes. So, in saying that, I think we have about 5 minutes left, but I think it's okay to go ahead. Is there anything you wanted to share, or?
No, I just want to say namaste to all the people out there. And, all is one and we are love, It's just like wishing everyone a nice day.
Thank you. I wish the same. A namaste to everyone. And again, namaste means the God in me sees, knows, loves, and acknowledges the God that is you. So namaste, everyone. My love to you, Christel, to Christian, to Alexandra, to everyone out there, to my family, to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Thank you to Rob Gautier for creating this platform for everyone on our network to reach out to everyone. And, Sri Amma, Sri Ganesha, and good night. Good night. It's nighttime for me, so I'm going to bed after this. Good night, everyone. All right, I'm going to end the show.
Hi, this is Karen Neumann from the show About Oneness, and here's what's coming up on the Enlightenment Evolution Networks 1 and 2, starting on Monday, October 27th until Sunday, November the 2nd. Simply put, Rob Gautier, founder of the EEN and the host of the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, has put together the greatest metaphysical radio network ever. 7 days a week, we have shows that will aid you on your path to enlightenment, evolution, and ascension. On EEN1, Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Heart to Heart Talk Radio with your host, Daniel Scranton. Join Daniel and his featured guests discussing a wide variety of metaphysical topics. Daniel channels the Creators, the Hathors, Ophelia the Fairy, and Archangel Michael, and the latest, the Unicorn Collective. Daniel and his guests will take phone calls and questions, and it's sure to generate high-frequency discussions. You can find more about Daniel at his website, danielscranton.com, and also on Facebook. Go to the Events tab on Daniel's website to learn more about Daniel's upcoming events. On Tuesday at noon, also 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please join hosts Megan Crandallmeyer and Rachel Archelaus for Radio Inspiration, Expression, and Abundance for their show Soulfulpreneur. Spiritual business specialists Rachel and Megan will bring you inspiring conversations with people who are living their soul purpose. Frequent guests include psychic mediums, channelers, coaches, artists, and authors. They end every show with psychic readings and business coaching. Your questions about your spiritual business or life purpose journey are welcome. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, is the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with host Rob Gautier. Rob channels Treb on the first Wednesday of each month and will take callers' questions. On the third Wednesday, we'll have special guests such as guest channelers and other metaphysical teachers. The other 2 Wednesdays are freestyle call-in shows to discuss whatever callers have on their minds. Tune in to Rob on Wednesday nights, and you can also find him at trebchanneling.com and on Facebook at the Enlightenment Evolution Network group page. Rob has 2 special announcements. Starting on Sundays from September 14th, trebchanneling.com offers hour-long meditation classes. Please go to trebchanneling.com to register. Another project near and dear to Rob's heart is the much-anticipated sequel to the groundbreaking film Tuning In, called Tuning In Now. The movie will feature channelers such as Daryl Anka and Bashar, Lee Carroll and Cryon, and our very own Rob Gautier and Treb. Tuning In Now will explore the amazing work of today's top channels and how they are helping to awaken the consciousness of the planet. The film is in fundraising stages at the moment, and with a contribution for as little as $15 all the way up to $50, you can help make sure that this film is made. Please go to Indiegogo.com. That's Indie, I-N-D-I-E, Gogo, G-O-G-O.com, and type in the search Tuning In Now 2. That's the number 2. Tuning In Now with the number 2. On Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, join host Philip Malika with the Consciousness Evolution Hour. Join Philip and his special guests and co-hosts as they discuss the shift, ascension, timelines, metaphysical concepts, and the 5th dimension. Find Philip at the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group page on Facebook and on YouTube. On Friday, The Earth Experience with your host, Kalina Angel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. The Earth Experience explores our soul's expansion through our human experience on Earth. Kalina will help you to navigate and expand through the exciting confusions that we are manifesting as new 5D beings. On Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, join me for my show About Oneness. About Oneness is a weekly radio program focused on celebrating the ongoing conscious awakening of our planet and our realization of oneness. My guest on November the 2nd is Robert Atkinson, author of Mystic Journey, Getting to the Heart of Your Soul's Journey. Robert Atkinson is a PhD and an internationally recognized authority in helping people to tell their life stories. He is the author of 8 books, professor of human development and religious studies, and the director of the Life Story Center at the University of Southern Maine. He will be live taking callers' questions. If you would like to learn more about my upcoming guests, as well as see many videos of channelings and teachings, you can go to aboutoneness.com. On the Enlightenment Evolution Network 2, join host Victoria Vives every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, hosting Earth Sky People Radio, your bridge between heaven and earth. Subjects will include planet Earth becoming part of an intergalactic society, star seeds and extraterrestrial life, living in oneness with one another, with Mother Earth, and with life beyond the Earth, the Interstellar Alliance, also known as the Galactic Federation of Life, music, frequency, and sound healing, question and answer interviews, shamanism, ancestral wisdom, and the star nations, self-sustainative and regenerative living, and much, much more. Please go to victoriavives.com/radio, where she has details about the show and the network. Victoria's guest on the 28th of October is Core Love, the man that's had 300 near-death experiences. On Saturday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, the Pied Piper and Texas Rebel hosting the show Disclosure Now. Disclosure Now is the On the Edge of Our Seats show that covers all topics of disclosure, from the world's most famous and obscure UFO cases to cryptozoology, conspiracies, and all things that go bump in the night. Pied Piper started his journey in Michigan in 1993 as a preteen seeing Bigfoot and never could get enough in investigating all things paranormal. Texas Rebel is a wild Texas man who loves the same journey and has studied these things for years. Join them as they cover all things in the human experience that just cannot be answered by anyone. Starting on Sunday, November the 2nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, The Resonance Intention, hosted by Neil and Sol Gar. The Resonance Intention show is dedicated to all things frequency and vibration. They showcase